Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is my review of the 2009 direct-to-video animated film Superman, Batman, Public Enemies. Now, before I get around to sharing my thoughts on this film, I want to give a special shout out to John for requesting this review. And if there's another film, TV show, or topic that you would like to see me discuss in the future, feel free to donate to either my PayPal or to my Patreon. Link to both is in the video description down below, and I will try to get your request as soon as I possibly can. Now, this is a adaptation of a comic series called Superman Batman. It adapts parts of the comic series, not the entirety of it. And it takes some creative liberties at points in order to enable it to be effectively adapted for this animated film. And I really like this. I had a lot of fun with this. As a fan of the 90s animated Superman and Batman shows, this was like a tie-in to it, and it was really a lot of fun to see these two heroes team up, fight a bunch of villains, face off against Lex Luthor. So yeah, this was definitely, in my opinion, one of the better DC animated movies that I've seen. It's directed by Sam Liu, who would go on to direct like a ton of other films in the DC animated original movie universe, and he did a really solid job here, especially when it comes to the action. The action in this film is shot in a way which really emphasizes the uh, uh, impact of every punch, every hit, every explosion, and it doesn't shy away from showcasing the spectacle either. Like, there's actually some really nice looking shots in this. And overall, I think he did a really good job directing this for a direct-to-video animated film. The animation was fluid, had a good sense of movement to it, wasn't too static, wasn't too stiff. The camera work I felt was definitely not stodgy. It seemed like it actually was taking some risks and some chances at points. Actually was willing to utilize multiple different types of pans, zooms, or different camera angles, as well as maybe, a little bit of slow motion or a little bit of some other techniques to enhance the animation. So, yeah, I think this definitely featured some pretty dynamic and strong direction overall. Now, the film is written by Stan Berkowitz, who based it upon the comic series Superman Batman by Jeff Loeb and Ed McGuinness. And this is, in my opinion, also a pretty good screenplay. The opening that deals with President Luthor is something that's honestly kind of trippy and surreal to see nowadays, considering the current political climate. It's like, this isn't a fantasy anymore. An economic downturn, all this turmoil, a president that is a criminal. It's just like, oh, this is really not that far-fetched anymore. A president who's a con man and a criminal and doesn't have people's best interests in mind and is doing all of this stuff for selfish reasons, and has hired all of his cronies and yes men to be on his side. This is not comic book stuff anymore. This is reality. We have President Lex Luthor. Um, but it's still fun to see Lex Luthor as president, and he makes for a really good foe in this story. And there is a meteor that's made out of kryptonite that's heading towards Earth, and the destruction of Earth is actually pretty imminent because it's a meteor that's very significant in terms of its size. So instead of, trying to, squash his beef with Superman, he wants to take Superman out of the equation so he can take all the credit for stopping the meteor, because that's the kind of person that Lex Luthor is. And he's already taken a lot of Superman's daily duties away by having these government employed superheroes work for him in Captain Atom, Katana, Black Lightning, Power Girl, Starfire, and Major Force. And that's why you have a whole scene when Superman is first introduced. He stops a guy who's just speeding really fast on the highway because there's not really much else that Superman could do. And so this team of government assisted superheroes, they try to get Superman to join them, but Superman's like, nah, I don't trust Lex Luthor. I'm never going to trust Lex Luthor. And there definitely is a reason for that, because it's Lex Luthor. Now, Superman isn't alone, though, when it comes to his distrust of Lex. Batman is also another hero who just doesn't have any faith in President Luthor. And this is also at the point where neither hero knows about the meteor. The only people that know about the meteor right now is Lex and people who are a part of his team. And so Lex comes up with this plan to blow up the meteor with a bunch of nukes. And in order for him to unveil that and utilize it and get all the credit, he has to take Superman out of the equation. So he sets up a meeting with Superman, and the intent is to ambush him with Metallo, who is a member of his Secret Service. And it leads to a really awesome, badass fight between Superman and Metallo. And Metallo actually comes very close to taking Superman out, even shoots him with a kryptonite bullet. But Batman shows up, helps Superman, and they escape. And you think, okay, Metallo is fine, but then you find out later that Metallo actually is dead. And Superman is now being framed for the death of Metallo. So now Superman is a public enemy, and so is Batman, because he's connected with Superman. And this whole connection with Superman and Batman, I loved in this script. This is exactly what Batman versus Superman Dawn of Justice was not. This is what that duo consists of. That's what this duo is. That's what I want to see from these two in live action. The two with conflicting personalities, but similar ideologies, and they butt heads, but they're friends. So at times they will actually bust each other's balls, and it's really entertaining. And there's some really fun lines of dialogue. Like there's this bit between Batman and Superman where Batman mentions to Supes about being dead, and then Superman's like, "Oh, I tried that already." He's like, "Oh, I've done that already." So I thought that was really fun, and there's just a lot of fun little quips and witty retorts and back and forth between the two characters, and they share a lot of screen time. And so there's actually an extended fight scene with the two of them going off and fighting a cadre, a cavalcade of villains, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, there's 28 characters that show up to fight Superman and Batman in this to collect this $1 billion bounty that Lex has put on Superman's head. You have Silver Banshee, Icicle, Captain Cold, Killer Frost, Mr. Freeze, Solomon Grundy, Mongol, Lady Shiva, Nightshade, Gorilla Grodd, Kestrel, Giganta, Copperhead, Black Manta, Brimstone, Catman, Deadshot, Eclipso, Shrike, Despero, Black Spider, Cheetah, King Shark, Bane, Zeiss, Parasite, Captain Boomerang, Girder, and Riot. So, and then you also, of course, have Lex Luthor. Well, Lex's plan to stop the meteor fails because the nukes detonate before they even hit the meteor because of the radiation on the meteor itself. So now Lex has just decided he's just going to let the meteor hit the Earth. So then he can start fresh and become not only a ruler of the United States, but a ruler of a new world. And this is also at the point where Lex is completely starting to become unhinged, even more than he already is, because he's addicted to steroids, but not just the regular old steroids, kryptonite infused steroids. So he's completely being driven mad by these steroids. And so now he is completely unreliable. And now he's become a threat to the American public as well as the world as a whole. And now Superman and Batman have to stop him and stop the meteor. And of course, he's trying to stop Superman and Batman from stopping the meteor. And so he tries to do all this stuff to prevent them from finding the location of the meteor. But Amanda Waller steps in and helps out Superman and Batman. And Superman and Batman actually go to Japan and they get Toyman, who in this is like a teenager, like who's like 13, who's like rich and has all these like mechs, and he's a super genius, and he has this rocket that's another mech that looks like a combination of Superman and Batman, and he's trying to put the coordinates in, but Lex Luthor is messing that up, and you have this really awesome fight between Superman and Lex Luthor, where Superman is struggling with Lex because Lex, he's got the kryptonite suit on, and he's got all this other stuff, but Superman eventually prevails. Batman gets into the mech and goes to destroy the meteor, and of course he doesn't die. Like that was never gonna happen. And Superman goes up into space and rescues him in his escape pod and takes him down to Earth. And of course, does that after he defeats Lex, and then Lex gets arrested. And you honestly end things on a really high note. It's Superman and Batman getting applauded by the entire city of Metropolis. And of course, there's some other stuff too, like prior to the whole meteor thing with the mech and Toyman. There's some stuff involving Major Force and Captain Atom and the other members of Lex's government assisted superhero group, and they get into a bit of a scuffle with Superman and Batman on top of the Daily Planet. And there was another bit with Power Girl, and there was Hawkman and Captain Marvel, which was fun. Where Batman and Superman fought Hawkman and Captain Marvel, who I guess were also being controlled by or bought by Lex. And I don't really know how Superman and Batman defeated them, though. Because they wind up disguising themselves in uh, the outfits, the clothing of Hawkman and Captain Marvel, in order to sneak into Luthor's lair. But I just don't know how they defeated the two of them, because last time you saw that battle, it looked like it was a stalemate, and then there's like a line of dialogue that says that Power Girl basically did it, but you never saw her do it. So that's one thing with the script that I felt could have been better. I would have liked to have seen Power Girl actually do more and actually have a moment for her to shine, because it's insinuated, but you don't see it. And she was a pretty decent part of the story. So I don't really understand why she doesn't have like at least one extended action scene where she winds up winning the fight. She was written in a pretty weak way, actually, when it comes to a lot of her scenes in combat. But other than that, I don't really have any issues with this script. I think it's very tight. It's got a very consistent amount of tension with the meteor that's on its way, and it's got a lot of fun fights and action in it, and it's got a very formidable foe, and it's just a fun story, and it was a lot of fun and really entertaining to see it unfold. Now, the film features a terrific voice cast. I mean, you have Tim Daly, who is my Superman when it comes to animation. He will always be my Superman because he was the voice of Superman in Superman the Animated Series in the 90s. And it was a real treat to hear him voice Superman again. And then you have Kevin Conroy, who will always be my animated Batman. And to have those two team up again, like they did at points throughout their animated series specials, as well as Justice League. It was just really a blast to see those two team up. And then not only that, you also had Clancy Brown, who reprised his role as Lex from Superman the Animated Series. So this was like a Superman Batman animated series reunion, and I was all for it. And apparently this was something that the producer of this really campaigned hard for. So I got to give a huge, major shout out to Andrea Romano. I think that's who it is, who was the one that was like, yeah, I really want those three to be in this. And it was a great choice because Tim Daly and Kevin Conroy still had that great chemistry. Clancy Brown was still just as menacing as ever as Lex. And yeah, it was just it was definitely a big reason why this worked and why it was as good as it ultimately was, because those three were doing the voices. The rest of the voice cast was fine too. Xander Berkeley's Captain Atom, um, Ricardo Antonio Chavarria as Major Force, Corey Burton as Captain Marvel and Solomon Grundy, Allison Mack as Power Girl, John C. McGinley as Metallo, CCH Pounder as Amanda Waller. She actually voiced Amanda Waller in the animated series, so it was another reunion of sorts with her. LeVar Burton as Black Lightning, Calvin Tran as Toyman, and there's a few other people, but that's honestly kind of that's really the main voice cast. So yeah, really a great voice cast, and it was a fun idea too to have them record all of their lines together in the same room. So that really added to the camaraderie and the overall chemistry with the different voice cast members, and made the voiceovers like all the more authentic to me as well. And I feel it was pretty well edited too by Margaret Who or How, and the music by Christopher Drake was also pretty good. I don't think it was as good as his score for The Dark Knight Returns, but it was still a pretty good score. It still fit the film pretty well, and it's not very long. It's like 67 minutes. So it goes by really quick. It's got some really good pacing to it. It's packed with a lot of action, a lot of fights with Superman and Batman teaming up, doing their thing. And the animation is definitely more close to the style of animation from the comics that it's based on, which I thought was fun and was a good choice and helped it stand out. It wasn't just trying to be another adaptation of either version of Batman or Superman when it comes to the animated shows previously. Um, but there were some moments with some of the CGI where it was just where it looked kind of weird. But other than that, like I thought the animation was pretty good as well. So yeah, I would say if you're a fan of these kind of animated films, definitely check this one out if you haven't already. And to me personally, this and Apocalypse, those are the Batman versus Superman films to me, not Dawn of Justice, because that film sucks. Like, this is what Superman and Batman is, not whatever the hell that shit was. But anyway, thanks for watching my review of Superman, Batman, Public Enemies. And until next time, I'll see you later. See ya.